Hey guys, I'm going to read some more chapters from The One and Only Ivan book today. Let's talk a little bit about what was happening last time when I read. If you'll remember, Ivan was talking about when he was younger and when he lived with Mac and Mac's wife. And then Mac came by and just said to him, hey Ivan, we've been through a lot, you and I. And then we stopped, so we'll pick up there. A New Beginning is the name of our chapter. We don't see Mac for 2 days. When he returns, he doesn't talk about Stella. Remember, Stella was the big elephant who died. Mac says that he's anxious to teach Ruby some tricks. He says the billboard is bringing in more visitors. He says it's time for a new beginning. All afternoon and into the evening, Mac works with Ruby. Ruby's feet are looped with rope so that she cannot run. A heavy chain hangs off her neck. Mac shows her Stella's ball, her pedestal, and her stool. He introduces her to Snickers. When Ruby obeys Mac, he gives her a cube of sugar or a bit of a dried apple. When she doesn't, he yells and kicks the sawdust. When George and Julia arrive, Mac is still training Ruby. Julia sits on a bench and watches them. She draws a little, but mostly she keeps her eyes on Ruby. Bob watches too. Remember, Bob is the dog that stays in Ivan's cage. He's hiding in the corner of my domain under knot tag. It's raining outside and Bob does not like damp feet. Ruby trudges through behind Mac, her head drooping. Endlessly, they circle the ring. Sometimes Mac slaps her flank with his hand. Suddenly, Ruby jerks to a stop. Mac pulls the chain hard. Ruby refuses to move. Come on, Ruby. Mac is almost pleading. What is your problem? She's exhausted, I say to myself. That's the problem. Mac groans. Walk, Ruby, I say, although I know she's too far away to hear me. Do what he says. Walk, now, Mac commands. Ruby doesn't walk. I think maybe she's tired, Julia says. Mac wipes his forehead with the back of his arm. Yeah, I know. We're all tired. He pushes Ruby with the heel of his boot. She ignores him. George looks over from the food court where he's wiping off tables. Mac, maybe you should call it a day. I'll close up. Mac yanks on Ruby's chain. She's as anchored as a tree trunk. He pulls harder and falls to his knees. That does it. I'm through playing around, he says. Mac stomps off to the office. When he returns, he's carrying a long stick. It's a claw stick. Mac pokes Ruby with a sharp point. Not hard, just a touch. I can tell he wants her to see how much it can hurt. Ruby doesn't budge. She is a gray, unmoving boulder. She closes her eyes, and for a moment, I wonder if she might have fallen asleep. I'm warning you. He stares at the ceiling. Ruby makes a huffing sound. Fine. You want to play it that way? Mac says. He draws back the claw stick. No, Julia cries. I'm not going to hurt her. I just want to get her attention. Mac swings. The hook slices the air just a few inches above Ruby's head. See why you don't want to mess with me? Mac says. Now, move. Ruby jerks her head, flinging her trunk toward Mac. She makes a noise that sends the sawdust scattering. It is the most beautiful mad I have ever heard. Ruby's trunk slaps into Mac. I don't see exactly where she strikes him, and I know he must be uncomfortable because Mac drops the claw stick and falls down. Do you blame Ruby for acting that way? I don't. Poor Mac. Mac groans. He stumbles to his feet. Ruby watches him leave. I can't read her expression. Is she relieved? Proud? Afraid? When Mac is gone, George and Julia lead Ruby from the ring. It's okay, baby. It's okay, Julia says. They settle Ruby in her domain and make sure she has fresh water and food. Before long, Ruby's dozing. Dad? Julia asks as George locks Ruby's iron door. Do you think Mac would ever hurt Ruby? I don't think so, Jules. At least I hope not. Maybe we could call someone. George scratches his chin. I wish I could help Ruby, but I don't know how. I mean, who would I call? The elephant cops? Besides, I need this job, Jules. We need this job. Your mom, the doctor bills. Back to work. You and me both. Julia sighs and reaches for her backpack. She removes a piece of paper, a bottle of water, and a small metal box. Homework first, then you can paint. It's for art class. We're doing watercolors. I'm going to paint Ruby. George smiles. All right then, just don't forget your spelling. Dad, did you see Mac's face when Ruby hit him? Yes, I did, he says. He shakes his head. Poor Mac. He turns away, and only do I hear him laughing. Colors. Julia opens the metal box. I see a row of little squares. Green, blue, red, black, yellow, purple, orange. The colors seem to glow. She pulls out a brush with a thin tuft of a tail as its end. She dips the brush in water and wets the paper, then taps the red square. When the brush meets the damp paper, pink petals of color come like morning flowers. I can't take my eyes off that magical brush. For a moment, I'm not thinking about Ruby and Mac and the claw stick and Stella. Almost. Julia touches red again, then blue, and there suddenly is the purple of a ripe grape. She touches the blue, and her paper turns to summer sky. Black and white, and now I see that she's painting a picture of Ruby. I can make out her floppy ears and her thick legs. Julia stops painting. She takes a few steps back, hands on her hips, gazing at her work. She scowls. It's not right. She glances over her shoulder at me. I try to look encouraging. Julia starts to crumble up the paper, then reconsiders. Here you go, Julia says. A Julia original. That'll be worth millions someday. I pick up the paper. I do not eat a single bite of it. Oh, hey, I almost forgot. Julia runs to her backpack. She pulls out 3 plastic jars. 1 yellow, 1 blue, 1 red. She opens the jars, and an odd, not food smell hits my nose. Then she slides me some more paper. These are called finger paints. My aunt gave them to me, but really I'm too old for finger painting. I stick a finger into the red jar. The paint is thick as mud. It's cool and smooth, like bananas. I pop my finger into my mouth. It's not exactly ripe mango, but it's not bad. Julia laughs. You don't eat it, you paint with it. She grabs a piece of paper and presses her finger on it. See, like this. I place my finger on a piece of paper. I lift it, and a red mark is there. I get a bigger glob from the pot and slap my hand down. On the page, when I pull my hand off the paper, its red twin is left behind. This isn't like the ghostly handprints on my glass, the ones my visitors leave behind. The handprint can't be so easily wiped away. We are going to stop there for the day. A lot of things are about to start happening in our book. Things are about to change. So keep listening to find out. You can send me your book talk questions like I wonder or I think or what would happen if you want. You don't have to. You can talk it out with someone at your house or you can send them to me. All right, guys, I miss you lots. Bye.